Hello and welcome to the Change Café. I'm your host Jay. In this episode, I interview Obehi Alofoje, psychologist, stress management consultant and productivity coach. Here we tackle a topic which is reportedly the single biggest block to success for many women. The fear of being found out as not capable, of being a fraud, widely known as imposter syndrome. I'm so excited to share this interview with you, so get your coffee, shampoos or cocktails and get comfy. Okay, hello Obehi. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hello, Jay. Good to see you as usual.
It's such a pleasure. And what I love Obehi is we actually studied our coaching together. We met time ago now, and it's just so nice to be coming together and working with you a bit more and talking to you today. It really is.
Yeah, so excited as well. I remember that about 5 years ago, I think, for Jay.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But Obehi, so productivity and mental well-being coach, some really important stuff that you're doing at the moment. And you work with professionals, consultants and entrepreneurs. And obviously we're talking to professional managers around today. And we're going to be talking about a subject that is coming up quite a lot right now around imposter syndrome and how that's impacting our productivity or our achievement of our goals. So I'm really, really excited about this conversation. But first, I want people to know a bit about you. So please do tell us your background, because it's more than just a coach. You're also a psychologist.
Hi, Jay. Thanks for having me. So my name is Obehi Alofoje, OB for short, and I'm a psychologist by training. I've been so for the last 12 years or something. But my specialty was in substance misuse, so drug and alcohol within non-profit organizations, and that's what I did. And so I decided to start private practice, and then that evolved into a business with my cousin, where we were focusing. Started off with professional women and leaders, just like the ones listening. And so we started off that way. We were supporting around mental well-being, making sure that they were equipped, increasing confidence, and imposter syndrome was one of my favorite topics, which is why it's so lovely to talk about this today. Yeah.
Am I right in saying women are more likely to be impacted by imposter syndrome?
Yes, that the study suggested that men have it, but they're probably less likely to admit that they do. So that might be one thing as well. But also because of the way it's structured for women, where women didn't go to school or university first. So there were a lot of things that would have layered on why we might have it more than men do anyway. So yeah, definitely excited to talk about that.
Yeah, and well, let's just get into it, because I don't think I understood what imposter syndrome necessarily meant. But when I started to kind of look into it, I definitely had the symptoms of thinking that I wasn't good enough, thinking I wasn't expert enough, not taking steps. So what is imposter?
What is it? So the basic thing is that imposter syndrome is a term used to qualify someone who, despite evidence to the contrary, keeps thinking that they're not good enough, or that they're pretending to be somebody else, and that more importantly, they will get found out. It's just a matter of time. So when you say it like that, it sounds very like, who thinks that? Like walking around feeling like a fraud, because that's the thing, fraudulent feeling. But it has so many contexts to it. So that's the extreme end, where someone walks around in a room feeling like, I shouldn't be here. They're going to spot me out in a minute. But what it looks like in a mild form is you thinking, everybody knows more than me. I definitely don't know enough. So I'm going to hang back and make sure so that nobody will know that I shouldn't have been here in the first place. So I'm going to skate to the thing they're skating through. So when things go well, like a pass exams or get promoted, you're just thinking, I was just lucky. Like him, the other person who would have gotten it just didn't come out that day. And so this is what it would look like in the day-to-day kind of thing, right? So you're doing well by accident, and someone's going to catch you eventually.
Yeah, and I can so relate to that, thinking, oh, that wasn't really me that achieved that, because a friend got that for me.
Yes.
or things like that. And it really is like, no, everyone's kind of like, oh my god, like, I worked with Imperial College London for some time doing a women's leadership program, and it was
Yeah.
amazing. But I kept finding myself, everyone's going, this is amazing, like, that you did that. I was like, oh no, not really, because somebody recommended me.
Yes.
That's how business is done.
That is it right there. Right there. As opposed to, thank you. Yeah. Awesome. I'm so glad. I mean, a lot of us carried it. We didn't know we were carrying it because it wasn't called that. And you're thinking it in your head. So you don't know that someone else is feeling the same way. You just think, I'm the one. So let's just. And one of the earliest, that's why when we talk about where did it come from? We think the majority is rooted in childhood. It's how we were, especially when something accidental happened, where we weren't expecting, or there was a surprise about something that we did or achieved. So I don't know if you'd relate to it at all, but for me, mine came, and I remember exactly when it was. I was 16, and I had just passed grew up in Nigeria, but some equivalent to GCSE, so at O level. And prior to that, I was just a very average student. Like I was very not an average, more than average student at primary school. Then got into secondary school and somehow didn't cope. But it didn't occur to us at the time. I was in boarding school. I wasn't going to cope at 11. Not every kid coped with that. But that wasn't, when you're 11, you're not thinking that's why you're not coping. You think I'm just dumb. I'm not as smart as I thought I was. And so I skated through secondary school just like that, sort of medium level, until one particular year where I completely even made it worse. So I was so bad, I had to repeat a year again at age 14. So now you're thinking, if I didn't think I was dumb, I definitely am. So I'm walking around thinking, okay, well, whatever, I'm dumb, not the smartest person in the class. And then we do this exam, GCSE O level. And then I have 4 A's. Okay, so I'm excited. I'm like, wow. Okay, so everybody's excited. My parents are ecstatic because, like, oh my God, you pulled it out of the bag. Typical thing like your parents would do. Well done. We knew you had it in you. Blah 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 blah. And I'm thinking, yay, yay. Okay, like we're gonna have a party, and like, yay, party, quick. When I'm gonna have a party? Well, like maybe in 2 weeks to get all your friends and everybody. And I'm like, no, can't wait for 2 weeks. It got to be next week. Do you know what I was thinking? It was someone else's result, right? And eventually, the authorities are going to come and say, we're so sorry, that's not her result, that's this other person. So I wanted the party fast so that I can celebrate, enjoy it before it gets yanked. Now, even though I had that thought, of course, I'm not going to name it imposter syndrome. I just thought, I literally believed it was someone else's result. So when nothing happened for a while, I thought I'd gotten away with it. Don't know if anybody watching me can relate to it at all. Gotten away with it. And so this time I had to push myself to make sure, okay, I can't have that happen again. So I'm really going to have to study for real. And so I'm passing all this exam. I go to university. I'm now in the UK. And I'm passing all these modules. I'm like, I don't understand. Something is wrong here. It went on for a while, me thinking, it never once occurred to me that I had caught up with myself, that I had up-leveled, that I had just figured it out. Psychologically, what I enjoyed doing and that kind of stuff, the subjects I liked made a huge difference as opposed to, I still suck at physics, like no. But chemistry, math, English, the things I like, I passed. I thought, I don't understand why. Anyway, so that's the extreme end. And of course, imagine how it just follow you. So every time, and that might, just to your audience to think about tracking, every time you did well, where there was this huge bump, unexpected joy, unexpected result, unexpected earning, and then thinking, I didn't deserve that. They just give it to me because they like me or whatever. So that is pretty much imposter syndrome in a nutshell. The question is, how severe is it for you? Will depend on what's happening. So like I was saying, I'm going to university, I did well, had a 2-1. Guess what my aggregate was? 67%. So 3% were first class. And then all I remember thinking was, oh, I'm never going to get that. Oh, thank God I got 68, 7, I'm done with that. like, like, okay, yeah, good. I've done this one. So every time I have to up level, it will rear its head again. Then I get comfortable again. And then they come back again. So when I started business, same thing. When you make your first, a client pays you first time, same thing. What did it look like in corporate? When you get promoted, your manager said, I think you can do this particular thing. And you think, oh, no. That last time we just an accident. Don't put me forward for it. Or the other way around, where manager says, or your boss says, I don't think you're quite ready for that at the moment. And you think, oh, yeah, that's true. I'm so not ready. Like, so glad someone else said it first. And these are the kind of ways that holds us back, either professionally or in your business or whatever. It's you thinking that it's not you, it's something else, it's luck attributed to something else, that somebody else was kinder, that's why you got it, or that you're pretty. I got it because I'm pretty, that's why.
Yeah, and that's kind of perpetuated when other people say things like that, oh, she got that because so-and-so likes her. She got that because, oh, she's, under that person's wing, or the pretty face. It's so damaging.
Very, and that's the word I used earlier. That's why imposter syndrome is damaging in its extent, because it's not this term. Yes, it's a term that got put there. It's not a psychological diagnosis. It's not a diagnosis. It's just like lack of confidence in a diagnosis either. But it sits in a very strange place around confidence, but it's not quite, isn't it? It's not quite, oh, I don't have the confidence to do something. I have the confidence to do something, but I'm thinking that people are I shouldn't be there. And they're gonna catch me quickly. So let me just quickly do what I'm doing and get out. Or let me just not put my head above the parapet so nobody knows I'm even here. So that's what it would look like.
Yeah, and you said something really interesting over here. You talked about, when something happens, when you're, paid by a client, or what that looks like in the corporate world, or given a promotion, it's about raising your standards
every time,
instead of questioning yourself and going, I shouldn't have got this. It's about going, I got this. Now I got it.
Now I need to get to the other page. And I think what I'm finding, it never goes away. I think if you think about me, who should know better, like you might say, yeah, I could be the ultimate authority on the subject because I'm a psychologist. I read this stuff and I know this stuff. That didn't absolve me from having it. So every single time I have a new thing, I check myself. In fact, right now, as we speak, I had a lovely challenge that went well. I have people enrolled in my program. So excited about that. Looking forward to September, because that's the next round of it again. And my coach is, and I feel like I couldn't quite relax. The last, because I think, I can just relax for a bit, enjoy the summer. Realized I couldn't relax, and I kept this last couple of days thinking, why am I not relaxing? Don't understand why I can't switch off. That's because I think this has been my most successful quarter since I started my business 3 years ago. Most successful quarter. So I'm thinking it's going to go off in a bit. So I need to keep riding this wave until the jig is up. So I caught myself again, literally 2 days. And that's because I have another layer coming. I'm going to have another launch in September. The price is going to go up. So I'm now going to charge something I didn't charge last month. So you can see why it's like, oh my God, can I do that? That was last 2 times were accident.
And this
it never goes away.
And this relates to, asking for a pay rise, asking for a promotion in the corporate world. It's like, can I do that? Oh, I asked last year, either I didn't get it or I got one. I can't ask this year.
Yes, that's exactly, especially when it comes to promotion, that's exactly a good point. You do it, and then 2 ways. So you get a promotion and you think, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I asked for it, but okay. That's why women think they are paid less. They're not, because they don't ask for what they want, because they're still thinking they're grateful for the bit that they just got. that to ask for more seems ludicrous or just plain greedy, because you don't think you even worth that in the first place. You're thinking nobody should know I'm in there. And that's why we work extra hard to do the work. That's why when we see a job we like, we will make sure we tick 80% of that box of the job spec. A typical man would just go in at 60%. They have acknowledgement that you're going to learn the rest of it in the job, because no job ever really said you had to know everything 100%. It just said you have to have this criteria, then they're the desirable ones, but they were never all a must, were they? And yet, women, and I'm going to use that collective term because that's what happened with us. We were late in the work game. We were late in corporate game. So we felt like visited guests, being allowed, oh, we will work and to look after the kids and everything. So they could just, the price to pay for being allowed to play. So you go in there and they say, well, can you do 80%? And you're thinking, I have to do 80%. I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to be the reason why no other woman gets into this role now. You can insert whatever that is. And so they wait until they hit every 80% mark. Because when they go into that role, they want to smash it from the first day. That may be, is it their internal, are they the ones doing it, or is that what the society has done for us? That's why I say it's not necessarily your fault that you got this thing. It's expectation. The man will go there expected to make mistakes, and he will still get his severance pay at the end of it. The women, look what happened when we put women in leadership. That's what happens. The thing goes to hell. That's why women, nobody thinks about the fact women only take this position when the thing had been tried and tested so many times the men had failed. And then women go in there and then like it was already a lost cause. But there we are. And so when they come out, oh, it didn't work, see? I couldn't have done it. I was just pretending I could have done it. It was a lost cause in the first place. And it's such a shame. And but that's what I'm going to say there about terms of promotion. And you think I have to hit all those boxes when really it's not true. You can learn on the job. And the competition is high. So I think a lot of people think, well, the guy who's not as smart is going to get it. So I have to really raise my game.
Yeah.
And that feeds, I think personally, that feeds into the, I didn't know this much. Someone else knows more than me, but I'm going to have to just chuck it up. Yeah.
And Obehi, obviously, where it would be silly to neglect the situation we find ourselves in right now. We're in the middle of COVID still, and
yes,
there's change and uncertainty going on in the workplace.
Yeah.
How might something like imposter syndrome kind of show up in periods of change and uncertainty? What might it
look
do?
like?
Yeah.
Well, it would look like not taking risks.
Yeah.
So I've had my brother-in-law is a recruitment consultant, and he recruited someone the other day who accepted and then declined to go on role because they weren't sure what was going to happen, and they couldn't extend the contract to say it would be more than a year. So they're hedging their bet. That's what happens. We don't take risk. In general, even when in times of difficulty or uncertainty, we're trying to be safe, keep ourselves physically safe, keep ourselves, mentally and even financially safe. So we don't spend too much, all that stuff. If you have imposter syndrome, then they could even play into it, which is, oh no, do not out yourself now. So I think, in my opinion, I think that's how it would play out in change situation. You're going to keep to the status quo. You're not going to raise your voice in the meeting and say, oh, I have an idea. Because it's like, no, nobody wants to hear that idea yet. And you want to out yourself. Don't forget, you shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So don't draw attention to yourself. So even more so, I think something like COVID, Black Lives Matter situation to come up, well, if you had imposter syndrome, you're going to be aware of, I don't want anybody to call me out and stuff, and they're going to be quiet here.
That's so interesting, and I think I can, and my mind is kind of blowing up here because I can relate to that so much in terms of like when there were periods of change at work, or you know, when there's something going on, not wanting to be the one to say, you know, and I don't lack confidence obviously, but not wanting to put myself out there for risk of, you know, risking my professional career, making a move that is going to negatively impact that. But that stopped me from suggesting my ideas. It stopped me from being somebody that was an expert in the field, because I wasn't putting my ideas forward. So not risking is risky, you know. Not putting yourself forward is so risky.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is the scary part, because in a situation like COVID or a collective trauma in that sense is where ideas and solutions get created. So if we're not putting ourselves to the puzzle to find solutions for stuff, then we hold ourselves back. We don't know what we're capable of. So I suppose that's one of the reasons. I mean, and because if you have imposter syndrome, and you don't have to use that language or that term, because some people are like, I don't really know what that is, and that's okay. I just want you to think about, when you go into a space, do you feel that you shouldn't be there, and that you're conforming to make sure that you fit and you blend in, so nobody gets to see your shine, nobody gets to see all that you are? Then I would say, yes, that's possibly what's going on with you. Yes, to different degree. That's why I say men can also have it. They just may not say that they are also having it. So you might say, well, it's linked to a culture thing, or how you need to behave. And it may be, but it's just based on, if I do something, do I expect other people to listen to it? If they don't listen to it, do I take it as something's wrong with me? Or do I take it as, no, they just didn't get me? You know, because these are two different minds sort of reframed. And I tend to teach this with my client. It's just, how do you shift it in the way your brain can believe? Because it's not actually true. Just because you feel like an imposter does not mean that you are. It's just your brain playing tricks on you.
Yeah.
Based on experience that it's had and collated your experience and what the world is reflecting back at you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely, Obehi. And I think you mentioned an important shade of this in terms of Black Lives Matter and people of color, and how imposter syndrome is showing up even more so now, as this has kind of come to the fore. And what have you seen around this particular topic and around imposter syndrome for women of color?
I would imagine that it's just like anything else. It's like, if you think about how we say we was, you know, and it's not just me, just research about imposter syndrome. To go and look more, but I'll find some reading material later to drop in the link if people want to look at it. It's not in our head. Women, let's start with women. It wasn't in our head that we developed it. It's like I said, we weren't invited to the table, and we somehow got invited to the table. Either first one in university, when the first women went there, you know, engineer. So you're going to have more of this in male-dominated field, like engineering. You're going to have more women. The women who are there, we're going to be thinking, do I belong here? But that's because it's designed for you to feel like you're an other in some way, right? So now couple that with a person of color or woman of color, is I shouldn't be here, but I am. I can't hide my skin. So I'm going to have to blend in some other way. I'm going to say things like, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. You're going to assume that you apologize for maybe you will get it wrong before you even get it wrong. So these are the kind of things that we do, so that if we are wrong, we've almost owned up to, like, I didn't say I was smart. Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong. There's something about that statement that annoys me. It does, because it doesn't allow people to just say what they're thinking, or, oh, I have an idea, or I had a thought, but correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm really sorry, but it's like, So why do women who use those terms more than men, if you think about that? So that's that's what we're dealing with, and it makes it like we're asking for permission to add our voice to it. And occasionally you get, oh yeah, I got that. Oh, you people like that? Really? Oh yeah, great. But you still ask yourself again the next time, that was just a fluke that time. Just because this other guy said he liked it, so that's why they all liked it.
Oh gosh, and yeah,
Yeah, it just
and that
very strange.
blending in,
Yeah,
you know, that trying to dull your shine.
yeah.
You know, it's just so dangerous for women, and particularly women of color.
Yeah.
It's
Just whatever. I don't even know if there's stats because I've never asked about that, and I think there might be. Didn't notice it at the time because I wasn't seeing it through those lens. I was just seeing it knowing as a woman, this is happening. As a woman who, you know, I am British now, but when I first came, I wasn't British. I was Nigerian with a bit of a Nigerian accent. I've lost some of it because I've been here for 20 years now. But it's that kind of okay. The minute I open my mouth, they're gonna know it's not. Like I'm not gonna out myself just by even speaking. So even that kind of thing, actually, so it's a confidence thing. But what I was trying to remember was I think as a manager, developed a manager, which is why I love this conversation with managers. Is in my non-profit company that I work for, I of course progressed from a practitioner to a manager, and I started managing a small team and all that stuff, and then I got into managing 3 boroughs, so it was a 3 boroughs project. And when I went for my boss, you know, white male, was like, yeah, totally go for that. I want, you know, you're very good. Because he's someone who believes. When you have someone who believes you almost reflect their word back on you because it's like, oh, really? Yes, Obi, I'd like you to apply for that. And then he did that, and I applied, you know, same company kind of thing. So I did internal stuff, but I didn't hear back. And he said, oh, have you heard back? I said, no, nothing. He said, oh, that's strange. It's been weeks now. He said, you know what, am I going to ask my own boss sorry, about that? Because his boss was managing this whole thing. So about 3 days later or so, I got a phone call from the woman who interviewed. There were 3 people who interviewed the panel, and the woman who, you know, who service was going to be was like, oh yeah, we'd like to offer you the role, blah 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 blah. Sorry about the delay. Everybody was sick. So we have to wait for them to come back. All that stuff. So I'm like, oh okay. I'm like, wait, what? It's like, yeah. So we got the job. So yeah. So when is it start in a month? Blah 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 blah. So I'm like, oh, thank you very much. So excited. I hang up the phone and I go straight to my boss's office. And he said, yeah, hi. And I said, what did you do? What did you do? So what did I do about what? About the job. I just head back. And I got it. You got it. And like, yeah. Well, what did you do? So what do you mean? I didn't do anything. So you said you're going to talk to a friend. Yeah. So this is as extreme as it can get.
Yeah.
Okay. I trusted him enough to go and ask him, what did you do? But if I didn't have that relationship, I'll keep it in my head that he did something, you know, because he liked me and stuff. You see what I'm saying? Meanwhile, like, nope, I'm just being a person who can recognize someone's work. Yes, it was me.
Yeah.
So you get into your job and you do better and you think, oh, okay, I do know stuff.
Absolutely. And
Yes.
Obi, over here, I've been following your work for some time, but one of the quotes that I've read from your work is, it kind of fires me up. And this is, I want to read it to you, and you can maybe talk around it. It's, feel fear and do it anyway.
And do it anyway. Sorry, that was not my word. It was from a book of something. I can't remember what it is, but I actually love that phrase for sure. This is the bedrock of sort of, you know, dealing with imposter syndrome. It's about fear. Comes down to that, and that somebody's going to catch you. That's down to that. It's almost like, yeah, but they catch me, I'll be all right. So feel it and then just do it anyway. And someone compliments you, you say, well done, you say, thank you very much for appreciating it. You do not have to go, oh, but this person, we did it. It's a team effort. No, that was you. The team helped, sure. We're not dissolving the team from contributing, but that was not. Yeah, so those are the kind of things I want to teach people how to start to own a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, yes, I did that, and with the, you know, with the support of my team. But I got inspired by X, Y, and Z. Being able to just own the thing that you did.
Yeah.
It's good to be modest, but not that modest that you throw yourself on the bus. So
yeah, it's almost like the difference maybe between modesty and humility. You can have humility, but you don't need to make yourself smaller.
No.
Yeah.
Nobody wins when you make yourself small.
Yeah.
Nobody wins, because then that meant that if I had assumed that I didn't deserve that role, I had to work on myself. So this is not like, oh my God, just believe it. I wouldn't have been able to support my team properly, because I would take my own imposterness or my imposter thoughts and transfer it to them, because now I'm going to hold them back. Oh my God, it's not quite enough. Are you sure? So I'm going to second guess. So if they say, oh yeah, I can totally do that, and I'll be like, oh really? Because I'm thinking I couldn't say that with a certainty. How can she? So I didn't want to hold my staff back. This is why we talk about leadership now, isn't it? So, you know, if you could own your insecurities, own your imposter stuff, sharing it with your team. Because I didn't think I was particularly good for this job, or I didn't think I would be going to be very good at this thing, but I realized why I did that. And so I don't want you, or if you are struggling with that, I want you to be able to talk about it. So cause that's what I would say, but I totally love that quote. I just think it just reminds me, just get on with it.
Absolutely. And I think this segues perfectly into some of the work you're doing at the moment, Obehi. So where can people find out more about some of the work that you're doing at the moment?
Okay, so because I hang out more in Facebook, because I have a entrepreneur group. So for your audience, the best place to find me will be on LinkedIn. I also hang out there, and LinkedIn is probably more sort of relevant to your audience at the moment.
Thank you
Anytime.
so much for your time and all of your amazing insights. I can't thank you enough.
Oh, thank you very much, Jay. Thanks everyone for watching.
All right, you take care.
Bye.